Good afternoon. It's Friday the 23rd of August 2024. Have you noticed the change that has come about in our plastic bottle tops? So this is a traditional bottle top on a Tesco semi-skimmed milk, and no doubt this will change too. So you just open it up as per normal, 2 items. But this is what we have now got. So you screw it open, but the top remains connected to the entire, in this case, cardboard container. Now, what is this all about? And you'll find this developing more and more. So there's an article in the Belfast Telegraph that actually focused on this. And the article is from Katie Rosensky. The new plastic bottle lids are driving us mad for a good reason, she says. Drinking from a bottle seemed to have suddenly become a struggle thanks to caps that remain attached. But this annoying development is rooted in a battle against plastic waste. So that's the general idea, that instead of having two separate items, you've got one complete item. So you haven't got a detached cap, and you haven't got a plastic bottle that it came from, or plastic container. Who knew cracking open a plastic bottle could ruin your week? And that's a bit exaggerated. This one simple act now comes with the side order of drama. Try to sip from your bottle and you'll find yourself doing unfortunate facial contortions as it pokes you in the nose or prods you in the chin. If you're really unlucky, you'll catch some rogue liquid in the lid, which will inevitably catapult all down your top. Now, you'd have to be pretty silly to allow this to happen, but it does happen, leaving you looking a bit sad, like a sad, sorry toddler who's still finessing their motor skills. That's all written, to catch your attention, to be as dramatic as possible. Attempt to snap the thin attachment containing the cap to the bottle rim to avoid repeating this mess, and you'll risk soaking yourself again. Well, actually, this is what is happening. We have done this. We have detached the top from the actual container because it's just too much of a hassle to pour it. The culprit, of course, is that little bit of plastic that keeps lids attached to bottles. The new design has quickly snuck onto the soft drinks aisle over the past few years. Well, actually, it's in the past month or two. If you believe its detractors, this tiny but unwelcome addition to packaging has turned a relatively straightforward process: grab a bottle, remove the lid, sip and enjoy, into a high jeopardy activity. That's a bit strong. One social media user branded this development the worst thing to happen to humanity since the removal of headphone jack on smartphones. Hyperbole, of course it's hyperbole, but one that perhaps sums up the outsized consternation with which this change has been received in some quarters. Will you drench yourself in front of your colleagues if you dare to take a gulp of water during an important meeting, or will you simply funnel liquid over your laptop? The possibilities are endless, says this lady. So there's your bottles with the top still connected. The correct way to describe a lid like this is tethered. There you go. The design can be traced back to the European Union directive that was initially proposed in 2018, then officially adopted the following year, with a deadline put in place from 3rd July 2024. The EU stated caps on all non-returnable plastic drinks bottles with a capacity of 3 litres or less must stay attached after opening. The purpose was not to collectively infuriate thirsty Europeans, But to tackle a serious problem, plastic waste, that sounds like a good idea, but we'll see. It is estimated that we produce 400 million tonnes of the stuff worldwide every single year. Plastic breaks down into small particles but never fully disappears. These microplastics can harm they do harm the environment, polluting oceans and soil, and can enter the human body, and have been linked to health problems such as endocrine disruption and even cancer, and have also been found in placentas. Isn't that desperate? What might seem as an infuriating change seems to be more reasonable when you start to explore the impact of our soft drinks habit. When lids are untethered from bottles, they often get dropped or lost, potentially blown off by the wind or carried by the rain into drains or rivers that flow out into the sea. Bottle caps are among the most common forms of plastic waste found in European beaches. And even if they do get to a recycling bin and then processing plant, their diminutive size is a problem. Caps are filtered out through sieving drums because they are too small, explains Ross Lactery, a circular economy expert at PA Counselling. That's an interesting job. Generally, any item smaller than 2 inches in any dimension risks being lost during the screening process. So you can see what the idea is behind this. If these lids remain attached to something bigger, then they're less likely to be lost as waste or end up in the ocean, where they can provide pearls to wildlife. Unfortunately, animals often confuse them as food. No wonder plastic caps were ranked amongst the 5 most harmful types of ocean rubbish by NGOs at risk. Despite the plan seeming like a no-brainer, the EU directive, it did initially get some pushback from Big Soft Drink. Various multinationals claimed that it would be too tricky and expensive to make new compliant lids, and this would be better to concentrate instead on improving the recycling process. But since the directive has been introduced, drinks manufacturers have been slowly rolling out the change in order to meet the 2024 deadline. So these tethered bottles haven't appeared on our shelves overnight. Coca-Cola started selling them in Europe in 2022. They've just gradually become more prevalent. Countries can decide their own effective, proportionate and dissuasive penalties for those who break the rules. But hang on, I hear you ask. Britain is famously no longer part of the EU. Well, I mean, that's debatable. So why are these tethered bottles cropping up here? Did take back control not apply to our beverages? Detachable lids are in fact completely legal in the UK. That is why you might still come across the odd bottle with the old style lid. Well, there's quite a few odd bottles with the old style lid. It just makes little or no financial sense for major drink companies to produce special attachment-free bottles like the soft drink equivalent of a post-Brexit blue passport, specifically for a relatively small British market. They'd effectively have to operate 2 production lines at once, which would be far more costly, and this way, should the UK ever introduce a similar rule of its own, they're already covered. And in woke media you'll find references to woke bottle caps. And somebody else saying the EU has ruined plastic water bottles, which is a bit much. I don't particularly mind this, If you've got a tricky one, yeah, you probably will just rip it off. But, the whole idea seems to be like a good idea, these tethered lids. Okay. So what do you think about this? sometimes the way that you've opened the bottle, plastic bottle cap, means that you are going to spill it. So what you'll just do is rip it off. But generally speaking, it seems to be a pretty good idea. It's logical. What do you think?